morning, my friends, and welcome to another outstanding installment from very high above all the insipid and puerile forms of Wyoming mainstream media. This is Cowboy State Politics. I, of course, am your illustrious host, David Iverson, firmly ensconced behind the silver Cowboy State Politics microphone and broadcasting to you from the base of the Bighorns at the Cowboy State Politics Studio in Sheridan, Wyoming. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to the program. Happy Monday. The primary election is, give or take, about a month away. This is the time when everybody is endorsing everybody else. You remember that great time during the presidential election where every celebrity was telling you not to vote for President Trump? Fun times, right? And we all saw the results. Nobody paid any attention to any of them because most of them are a bunch of leftists. In Wyoming, we don't really have a surplus of celebrities. And if we do, they're pretty much keeping their head down, and most of them probably don't give two craps about state-level elections. What we do have, however, is a whole bunch of associations. Really, what they are is trade unions without the name union attached to it. The Wyoming Education Association, for example, they do everything that the National Teachers Union does. The only difference being, in Wyoming, they really bristle when you call them a union. And the same holds true for just about every other organization in the state. You pay dues to the people that run it. That organization then allegedly advocates on your behalf. But anyway, there's a ton of them, and all of them are endorsing, you guessed it, most of the redcoats. On today's program, I'm going to first tell you a little bit about one of those organizations, the Political Action Committee that represents real estate agents, RPAC. And then I've got a great interview with the Wyoming Speaker of the House, Chip Neiman. He's been putting out a lot of videos that are absolutely hysterical. And of course, the guy he's running against for Wyoming Senate District Number 1, Ol Augie, is a continuing source of material. Frankly, I don't know how Chip gets anything done at his ranch while dealing with Augie. So, RPAC, the Realtors Political Action Committee. And I guess before we get into this, we should probably discuss how the left is obsessed with so-called dark money. You've seen all the posts, haven't you? This person is getting dark money from this shadowy organization. Or the low-hanging, completely misleading, and absolutely untrue fruit that the Wyoming Freedom Caucus gives $30,000 to the candidate that votes the right way. You've heard that big fat lie, haven't you? That one was completely made up by Senator Ed Cooper, and then repeated over and over by people like Ogden Driscoll. And all of them know exactly how you could verify that. You go to the Wyoming Campaign Finance Information System and you can see exactly how much money every candidate got. And you won't find the number $30,000 anywhere. The Oxford English Dictionary defines the terms dark money as, quote, funds raised for the purpose of influencing elections by nonprofit organizations that are not required to disclose the identities of their donors. Most of these are 501c4 organizations. And there's lots of them in Wyoming. To just give you one example, Wyoming gun owners. They don't have to disclose the names of their donors. But most of the associations, or unions, as we might colloquially refer to them, do have to disclose their donations. Political action committees are in that group. State-level political action committees definitely have to report their donations, like RPAC. But really, who besides people like me are actually going to dig through them and see who is donating to all of these groups? To their credit, the Realtors Political Action Committee of Wyoming gets most of their money in small dollar donations. Most of them are $25 a pop. And it's pretty much a who's who of realtors in Wyoming. At the state level, I don't think that they really qualify as dark money. But let me point this out to you. On their website, listen to this. Quote, RPAC is the muscle of realtors in Washington, D.C., RPAC represents over 1.1 million politically active realtors that members of Congress want as their friends. Because of the combined strength of our members who contribute through RPAC, NAR has achieved many legislative and regulatory successes. Skip a paragraph or two and you'll find this, quote, RPAC remained the nation's largest political action committee in direct contributions to candidates, with disbursements over $4.5 million to federal candidates and national political action committees. Oh, what about all of those Washington, D.C. influences? You know, all the op-eds and articles in the cow pie and social media posts accusing conservatives in the House of Representatives of getting daily text messages telling them how to vote. It seems to me that this is a perfect example of that. Now, RPAC has just issued what they're calling the Wyoming Political Action Committee Trustees 2026 Candidate Endorsements. I'm sure you'll find this hard to believe, but not a single incumbent or former legislator on that list, and there are 25 of them on there, are conservative. Here's how we know that. In Wyoming, there are a number of different legislative rating sites. One of them tracks how often a candidate aligns with the Wyoming Republican Party platform. And all of the people on RPAC's endorsement list claim to be Republican. However, according to that rating site, it's called Rhino, the average score of all of those incumbents is that they only align with the Republican Party platform 15% of the time. 1-5, ladies and gentlemen. If you are a Republican, and it is the Republican Party's nomination that you are seeking for the general election, one would assume that you align with the values of that political party. But that's not the case at all. In fact, of the incumbents that the RPAC endorses, 6 of them scored a 0% in their adherence to the platform. Those candidates are Ogden Driscoll, Bob Nicholas, Andrew Byron, who, by the way, also gave money to RPAC, Wendy Schuler, Evie Brennan, Elisa Campbell, and Julie Jarvis. Because I'm in favor of accuracy, let's do a little cross-checking. Evidence-Based Wyoming, which tracks how often somebody votes with the Republican majority versus how often they vote with the Democrat majority, shows that of those 26 incumbents and former legislators, they vote with the Republican majority an average of 17.2% of the time. 17.2. In the immortal words of J.D. Williams,
Republicans are not voting with the Democrats. The Democrats are voting with us.
That's because the way that all these people are voting in no way resembles the Wyoming Republican Party platform. Because the Democrats wouldn't vote for that, JD, which is why you end up voting with them so often. Anyway, this whole endorsement list tells you a heck of a lot about the people that are running for office. If their names show up along with the people that vote an average of 17.2% of the time with the Republican Party platform, you can be pretty sure that they're not really a Republican. You don't have to have a D at the end of your name to be a Democrat. If it walks like a donkey, it talks like a donkey, and votes like a donkey, it's a Democrat. And because I live in Sheridan County, the names of Sheridan County candidates that show up on this list are Micah Sturdivant, Melissa Butcher, Ryan Koltiska, and Marilyn Connolly. And Marilyn Connolly, being the incumbent from Sheridan County, she voted a whopping 18.3% of the time with the Republican majority and scored a 0, according to Rhino. So really, when you think about it, RPAC actually did all of us a big giant favor. It's a list of candidates that you shouldn't vote for because they're all really Democrats. Before I take a break, the guy that we're going to talk to next, Speaker of the House Chip Neiman, he scored a 100% according to Rhino. And if you're wondering, no, he didn't get an endorsement from the Realtors Political Action Committee. We'll talk to him in just a minute. But first, an absolutely outrageous profit timeout. If you're in the market for any type of metal building, the two guys you need to talk to are Marcos and Jesse at Morton Buildings. Their phone number is 307-674-2532. They are the experts in metal building construction. They've been doing it longer than anybody else around, and they do a much better job. So whatever building it is, whether it's a garage or a barn or maybe something bigger, like a roping arena or a giant warehouse, call Marcos and Jesse. Again, their phone number is 307-674-2532, or you can check them out on their website, mortonbuildings.com.
Hey, Wyoming Patriots! Don't miss the Patriots of the West Freedom Fest this July 10th at the Lander High School Auditorium. Doors open at 5, rally starts at 5:30. Enjoy some barbecue while you hear from Wyoming's boldest conservative voices. Harriet Hageman, Chuck Gray, Gabe Saint of TPUSA, plus Brent Behan, Rachel Williams, Tom Kelly, Scott Smith, and more. This is where real conservatives connect, fire up, and fight for Wyoming values. Great fun, great music, and the kind of energy you'll be talking about for months. Make your plans now to join the fight for freedom. Patriots of the West Freedom Fest, July 10th at the Lander High School Auditorium at 5:30 p.m. Be there. Let's party like it's 1776. Paid for by WCFL PAC.
Today's program is also brought to you by Cowboy State Trailers in Shoshone. Any trailer that you can think of, they've probably got it. Utility trailers, tilt decks, dump trailers, gooseneck trailers, and they also sell old hickory sheds. So any kind of trailer you need, call Cowboy State Trailers. Their phone number is 307-409-0396. And if you tell them that David sent you, they'll knock $250 off your bill. So call Cowboy State Trailers, whatever you're looking for. Again, 307-409-0396, and tell them David sent you. And now, back to our program. One of the races that's turning out to be quite a bit more nasty than some of the others is Senate District 1. Now, of course, Ogden Driscoll has signed the so-called Peacemaker's Pledge. So he certainly would not say anything that's not true about his opponent. And he definitely wouldn't throw any mud at all. Because, you know, he's becoming a peacemaker. Except, of course, if it was yesterday at 8:35 in the morning when he posted the video of J.D. Williams.
Republicans are not voting with the Democrats. The Democrats are voting with us.
And he added this little comment to it. Quote, do we want to attract businesses or repel them? Do we want to fund essential services? The Freedom Caucus and the Speaker, their founder, have fought to tear these very things down. End quote. So I don't really know if it's in this Peacemaker's Pledge or not, but I'm pretty sure one of those things might be stop lying. First, Chip Neiman did not start the Freedom Caucus. It's absolutely not a problem if he did. It just kind of means that he's in favor of things like free market capitalism and liberty and not letting porn books be in your children's school library. We could add on things like keeping men out of women's sports, something Ogden Driscoll absolutely voted against. Right alongside his pal, Eric Barlow, Ogden Driscoll voted against 2025 Senate File 44. That one's called Fairness in Sports, Intercollegiate Athletics, and it prevents men from participating on women's sports teams in college. And the second lie in Ogden Driscoll's post, not that you should expect anything different from him, but the second one is that the Freedom Caucus wants to tear down business in the state. How about not picking winners and losers and giving your tax dollars to businesses that don't need them and certainly shouldn't have them? If putting everybody on an equal playing field is tearing down Wyoming business, then I suppose you could say that conservatives are guilty of that. For me, I don't think it's the role of government at all to be messing around in private business. That's what socialists like Ogden Driscoll do. Anyway, last week I had a chance to visit with Speaker of the House Chip Neiman, who is running against Ogden Driscoll in Senate District Number 1. Here's that conversation. Another guy that makes perfect sense to me, and if you watch any of his videos, they're absolutely hilarious, is Speaker of the House, Mr. Chip Neiman. Chip, welcome to the show.
Good morning, everyone. Good to see you, David. How's everything in your world?
Hi, everything's fantastic. How about yourself?
Doing good. Just pulled over here and stopped the tractor from raking some hay here, getting ready to hopefully put up some hay if we can get her done today. The wind has not been helpful, as many and most of the people in the state of Wyoming know. This wind has been nasty for the last couple of days.
Oh man, yesterday it was a near hurricane here in Sherwood. Well, okay, not a hurricane. So Chip, you probably don't know this yet. Maybe you do, but you are the creator of my new current favorite soundbite. At the end of one of your videos, you're talking about Augie and nuclear waste, and kind of under your breath, you say, "Dude, that's not good." Here, take a listen.
Then you're saying that the people shouldn't be able to vote whether or not they want to store spent nuclear waste, high-level waste here in Wyoming? So you're for that? Dude, that's not good.
Oh gosh, really? No, that was the thing that just came to my mind when he was, I don't know, I completely unscripted. I'm like, man, you have not thought this all the way through, obviously, or maybe the folks that are supporting you have obviously not thought this all the way through, because I really do believe the people of the state of Wyoming want to have something to say about whether or not we store high-level nuclear waste from all over the world.
All right, Chip. So you've been making these videos, and most of them are about just different pieces of propaganda you've got in the mail. Why don't you go ahead and talk to me about them? What started you to create these videos, and what are they about?
Well, I think one of the first things that started it, and I'm not one that does this normally. I mean, this is very unlike me to do these kind of videos. I've never really been a fan of doing that. It's kind of awkward and uncomfortable, but I've kind of learned here of late that it's kind of the quickest way you can kind of respond to some of the nonsense that's happening out there. I mean, you're trying to work and be like everybody else out here and make a living and get things done, and you just, every time you turn around, somebody has posted something or made some accusation and stuff like that, and I got people calling me. They're like, "Hey, where's this coming from? And why are they saying this? And this is a bunch of bull butter." And
bull butter.
The thing is like, how do you respond to it? I mean, I can't spend all my day running around here trying to squelch or tramp down every accusation, because there's a ton of them out there. But there's just some of them that are it's just so foolish that you just gotta say something. And that was just a quick knee-jerk reaction to try to get some information back out there as quick as you can. Not everybody's going to hear it. I'm sure it's not going terribly far, but it's just, I mean, how do you send a mailer out in response to every mailer that you don't know is coming? And you can't. And so there's a point where people just have to believe either that you're telling the truth and you're who you say you are, or you're not. But in this situation, the first one that came up was recalibration, and Ogden saying, that, hey, he was coerced and that it was a bad bill and he didn't realize it, and all these different things. But then I got to look, I'm like, well, Ogden, you voted for this consistently 100% of the time. And you've always been an advocate for trying to, get education, supposedly. I mean, even when they were attacking you, when you were trying to say that maybe these folks ought to have to be able to provide their curriculum so the parents can see it. And I remember,
yeah, that was his bill.
Yeah, it was his bill. And the education committee, I remember being in education, he came, and I mean, he was pretty upset at the way they attacked him for that, and it's now we turn around here and we actually got a recalibration done. And because not everybody's a fan of it, and we're trying to work through the details, suddenly he's a champion of going back and undoing everything you did. So you're going to be the guy that's going to go back down there and take wages away from people that deserve pay increases and getting that money in the classroom and all these different things so we can be competitive against other states for salaries and all this stuff. And then I got to looking, and man, David, he voted for it 100% of the time on introduction. First, second, and third reading. When it went to his appropriations committee meeting, he voted for it 4-1. Then it came back in third reading, it went out. He voted for that. Then when it came back for concurrence, he voted for that. By the way, the Senate voted unanimously for SF 81 on concurrence. So I couldn't even get that bill introduced in my chamber the first time. It failed twice.
Yeah.
And we sent it to the Senate, and it passed unanimously introduction and passed eventually in concurrence unanimously. And I couldn't get 42 legislators, David, to go to start with. And when it left my chamber, there were 52 legislators that voted for it. 10 didn't. 3 of them weren't there to vote. 7 did vote against it. But, and there's some of them out there that are like, see, I didn't vote for this. Well, I get that. Fine. Let's have the discussion. That's why we kept the recalibration committee going. And we're taking and dealing with it here just this week, or last week, excuse me. We dealt with some other issues that have come up. We're trying to get those things straightened up. So it's a process and we're going through it. But when he come out and is just like, you forced me, dude.
Yeah.
Ogden, I've never been able to force you to do nothing. I've tried.
Nobody forces Augie to do anything.
I've tried to get him to be supportive of life legislation, and I had to beg him to put, that onto the docket there when we had the other life bill up there, and he wouldn't do it unless he could have exceptions, and exceptions is what they attacked us on. So, no, it doesn't wash, and that dog don't hunt, and that's what started it, David. And now every one of these mailers that come out by stuff that is just ridiculous it's just an easy way I've found to try to set the record straight.
No, I think they're working, man. And you're a funny guy. If it doesn't work out for you in the legislature, perhaps you could be like do some stand up or something.
Funny looking, maybe, but I don't know about funny.
I have a burning question for you, Chip.
Hey, what's going on, Pendergrass?
Hey, I just wondering, do you have a privy on your place? Do you have an outhouse on your place?
I actually do have I have a
one. Don't admit it.
Believe it or not, I got a 2-hole privy that we actually use for a deer blind up here at the end of a hayfield.
Well, that's convenient, man.
Well, you better watch out, Chip. Your county there in Crook County is going after outhouses. Did you know that?
I know. Somebody told me the other day, they said, Chip, we'd like to see you be number 1 and number 2. And I'm like, no, we're not doing this. I don't know all the ins and outs of that, but it sounds like that's starting to stink a little bit. I don't know what's going on there. But
the one thing it did do is entertain us for about half an hour.
Yeah, it was funny stuff. All right, Chip, let's run you through the paces here. So you're running for the Wyoming Senate. Why? You definitely could have gotten reelected in the House. So why make the move to the Senate? What factored into that decision?
I think I never did want to make a career out of being in one chamber. I don't think it's a good idea to be there and become a piece of the furniture. I think as much as I can really do effectively, I made it to Speaker of the House by some means of the folks of the support of that chamber, and I appreciate. And you don't do that alone. I mean, that's a corporate effort. Everybody works together to make those kind of things happen, and I appreciate the support I had from the chamber, and I think we got some incredibly good things done in a very short period of time. I've been in there. This is my 6th year now. I went from a freshman legislator to the Speaker of the House. So I'm not here to try to blow my own horn, but I think there's something to be said for the ability to work with people and to get that done and to become that position, an elected position, mind you. So I think I can work with folks against what some people say I can. It's my way or the highway, but you don't do that when there's 62 people in your chamber. You got to have a majority. And I think I can take that leadership ability to the Senate. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, Ogden was done. He told everybody, and I hear it almost daily. They said Ogden told me personally that he wasn't going to run again. And so I didn't think there would be any major issue. I would have assumed I'd have had a challenger in this effort, but I just thought, well, the next chamber would be the logical step to move to, and if I can hopefully be effective there and have a little broader voice for more people in my district that I work with and appreciate. And boy, I tell you, when I announced there before we left, it energized him. I mean, he all of a sudden is now ready to go back, and he said he burnt all of his old signs and stuff in that one Cowboy State Daily video and stuff. Yeah. He just got rid of them, but I see a lot of old signs that are out being reused again. So I'm not completely convinced that he wasn't planning on running anyway. But I don't know. I just feel like as if I have something to offer the people of the state of Wyoming, and especially District 1, Senate 1. And we're certainly going to let the people decide that. But I'm running a race, David, and Ken, as you well know, that's obvious now. I just did another post last night. I got Better Wyoming after me. So I got the hard left liberal arm of the Democratic Party that's encouraging people to vote for Ogden. I mean, that should say something. So it's a definite race where we're going to see they call it a bellwether race, but it's going to be, we'll see what the people want. If they want conservative leadership, that has got a record that is consistently conservative, or if they want a more moderate left-leaning that's endorsed by the Dems and the liberals that would like to change Wyoming into Colorado. So,
all right, you use the word conservative. What's that word mean?
Conservative is someone that believes government should do only those things that people cannot do better for themselves. And I think that, and that was a quote from government that was from Abraham Lincoln. It's conservative to me is someone that believes in the sanctity of life, that they stand up for life first. I think that is truly conservative. I think conservatives believe that the people have the best opportunity. When you leave their taxes in their pocket, they know better how to spend those dollars. They are more frugal, I believe. I think they're less adherent to the idea that government is the answer. I think of Ronald Reagan, who was a Democrat that over to be Republican, but he said he didn't leave the party. The party left him. Dems went so far to the left that he couldn't adhere to that anymore. I'm a Republican because I believe in what the party stands for and the platform and all the planks, the 23 of them, and I'm glad to support them. And I think conservative means just that, conservative, trying to do what you can with what you have and to always be looking for ways to grow and to help. And the best way that we as leadership or people that are elected is to help those folks, have that opportunity. And parental rights, having choices as far as school is a conservative. I think that conservatives need to stand up for the word. I mean, to me, conservative, and maybe this isn't what you're looking for, David, but I think, my faith is what I use to try to guide my decisions all the way through. I tried to make sure that at some point, and whenever this is all done, and I called home, that it's going to be well done, good and faithful servant. And I think conservative means that you respect God and country and what we've done here, and you appreciate and realize the value of being an American, and that you're going to stand up for these rights that people have fought and bled and died for to give us freedom. And I think conservative means protecting freedom, and I will do that. And my record, I think anybody, I would encourage you to go look at my record on any one of these sites, but specifically just my voting record. I believe I've been consistently conservative in what I've done. And if I've missed the mark, then I would certainly love to have somebody help me get back on track. But I think I'm headed there.
No, I think that's a good answer. So if you could, let me ask you this question. So one of your big issues, it's almost like every session you've worked on a piece of pro-life legislation, and even past the legislature. When they go to court, you've been consistently fighting for the unborn. Would you be in favor of a constitutional amendment on abortion?
They've tried to bring one in the Senate this last go around. We had that discussion when I was working with all the different stakeholders. When we did the heartbeat bill, we decided to bring the heartbeat bill. I would sponsor it and bring it from the House side. Tim Salazar brought a constitutional amendment that we worked with Students for Life to try to craft that would be something that would provide that amendment. But sadly, it failed introduction in the Senate, that constitutional amendment. And actually, my opponent voted against that introduction on that. So as far as me supporting a constitutional amendment, I'm not against the constitutional amendment if that's where we have to get to. I do believe, it's going to open a can of worms like we've never seen before, because I think that it's going to be people going to come in here and spend money like we can't imagine to fight to preserve the ability to kill innocent life. I think the players aren't going to be as heavy in Wyoming as what we're going to be outside sources that are going to come in here and flood this state. I mean, there's less than 600,000 people here. And wouldn't it be beautiful if you could get Wyoming, the most conservative state in the union, to somehow vote to enshrine the killing of babies and innocents in their constitution? I'll be honest with you, David, just full transparency, it does concern me. It scares me to throw that out there. I think that we so many times, Roe v. Wade's been around a long time, and we've gotten really used to the idea of being able to end a life if we see fit, and an innocent life. But the legislature clearly has the right. When Dobbs when the Roe v. Wade decision was overturned, they said, you states have the right to decide what you want to do. And it goes back to your legislatures. Now, the legislature in Wyoming has clearly said over and over again that we believe and support the protection of innocent life. The decisions over and over again. And I've said this in other interviews. We have statutes on the books that say if you kill a woman with a baby in her womb, no determination of gestational age, that person will be charged with a double homicide. To me, that immediately says that that is a person with rights. Why would, if it's not a person with rights, would that person that committed the act or killed that woman be charged for 2 homicides if that's not a human being with rights? So that tells me Wyoming's already there. It clearly says in Article 1, Section 38 of our Constitution, Subpart C, that the legislature has the right to restrict these healthcare, because they keep citing that as the right to abortion or abortion is healthcare. We've got an activist court that is saying that no, that's not what that says.
Right.
Yes, it does. They don't want to say anything about Subpart C. They want to omit that or act like as if it doesn't exist. I believe that we as a legislature have clearly said that Wyoming is pro-life and that we should protect life from conception to natural death. I guess all of that to say this. I guess I would say that if we had to, and that was what it came down to, but I don't know if Wyoming's there right now. I think that there's so many outside forces that are going to come in here and try to skew that it's, and we've seen it in other states. They've told us what's the outcome. It gets crazy fast because it's a big deal. People want to kill little kids in the womb. But I told somebody the other day, Dave, it was kind of funny. What would happen if somebody said, you know what, I've got a bunch of puppies that I want to go drown because I don't want them?
Oh, boy. Christy Nome.
You would go to prison for a puppy, but you can kill a baby in the womb in Wyoming, and it's okay. It's considered healthcare. We are messed up as a nation. We are completely upside down. And that's where it goes back to the conservative point of faith and believing that all human life is individual, unique, and perfect and created in God's image, and we have a responsibility to protect it. And that is government, in my mind, as a legislator. I believe that is government's primary responsibility is to protect life. And that's why I ran.
So, Chip, I too share a little of that trepidation about putting it before the people as a constitutional amendment. And, to enshrine abortion into our Constitution would be horrible. But at some point, that decision is probably going to be made. And I think from where I sit, I'm reminded of Pontius Pilate with Jesus on trial. And he said, I'll give you back Jesus. And the people shouted out, no, give us Barabbas. At some point, the people are going to make their call, and they're going to have to live with that.
Yeah, you're right, Kim. There's no, I won't argue that.
I don't want to be, but
I know. I'd rather you not be right, but in my opinion, I think you're right. And I think, I guess here would be my answer. I would like to exhaust a couple other avenues first, or at least try. I'd like to see us do something about our judiciary and how we elect these judges and how we appoint these people. I think the people need to have more of a say in this. And I know there's going to be people that hair is going to burst into flames when I say that. But I've heard it over and over again from other states. You've got to change your Missouri plan for picking judges and for picking, your people that go there and submitted names to your governor.
Yeah.
It's going to depend on what kind of a governor we get. I mean, what are the people going to vote for here? Are we going to go conservative, or are we going to go back to where we're at? And maybe farther, I don't know, left of where we're at in my mind. But that's, it's all, there's a lot in this mix that needs to be kind of thought through. But I think one of the first things, like I say, is can we look at how we do our selection of our judiciary? I mean, and is that something that we need to reevaluate? When we've got a judiciary that can take Article 1, Section 38, like I said, Subpart C, and say, no, that the ending of that life is healthcare, then we've got a judiciary that is looking at it from the standpoint of strict scrutiny.
Yeah.
And when you use strict scrutiny, that's an activist court.
Yeah.
You could use that same argument to say, well, you really don't need a gun, do you? I mean, prove that you need one.
Yeah, exactly.
Chip, you put your finger on the problem there and the diagnosis. The problem isn't, as you've pointed out a couple times, with legislation the way that it occurs.
No, over and over we've
The problem is
passed
with the
bills.
judiciary that refuses to uphold the law as it's written and as they plainly know that it means, and become activists and create their own laws. And so that's the first thing that needs to be fixed before we go trying to amend the Constitution. There's nothing wrong with the Constitution. There's nothing wrong with the law. It's the judiciary.
Legislatures create laws. Judiciary does not create laws.
Exactly
They interpret
right.
the Constitution, and that's the thing. I mean, we legislators elected by the people and are in there creating these laws, and we need to stand by them and hold them up against the Constitution. Well, the fundamental thing that I struggle with, guys, and you guys probably this, is that we have no respect for unborn life. We do not. It's not human, and that's the thing. You can kill it because it's not a human being.
Oh Lord.
And it's like, if it was human, it would have rights. Well, it doesn't have rights. And so we can go ahead and end its little life, no matter, now, thankfully, we added viability. But I've asked people in different forums, it's like, when did your life begin? Did it begin when you drew an air outside of the womb? Or when you could have lived outside the womb with assistance from the medical field? Or did it begin when the cells united and you were created? The color of your hair and the way your hand is shaped and the shape of your nose was determined when those cells began to split. That you are unique
Easy
in
there,
all
Chip.
of the world. So,
Let's not talk about the shape of noses. But
well, we can fix it, Ken. I'm sure there's help out there.
just imagine the furor if you climbed down a cliff into an eagle's nest and busted some eagle's eggs.
Oh yeah, you go to prison for that one.
Yeah.
You would be charged for felony charges, and you'd probably be in prison, and they'd break you.
Yeah.
And that's the point. I mean, we're and and not the creator. We have exchanged
The truth of God
human beings for animals, and placed them on even a higher level than human beings.
Yeah.
And a society is not going to survive doing that. I'm sorry, but they won't. And thank God for our Constitution. And yet they still would love to change that.
Yeah.
They'd like to go up in that if they could, but it's no.
All right, well, let's switch gears real quick. Well, say you win your Senate race against Augie. What do you want to do? You got any priorities?
Well, I think the biggest thing we've got to look at is some stuff that we've had a hard time, trying to work through the Senate. I mean, we've seen some things that have gone on that died. What about, like Better Wyoming? I mean, they'd love to have sexually explicit materials in your libraries. We had a piece of legislation that handily passed out of the House that died in the Senate. Who's going to advocate for those kind of things to protect our kids and to provide parental rights? Those kind of things we need to stand up for. I think we need to continue to look at our tax structure, how we do it. I had a long visit with some folks over here the other day that are not happy with fair market value. They said that I can't afford to pay taxes based on what somebody from California, Washington, or Oregon is willing to pay for land adjacent to me. He said, I don't have those kind of resources. We need to look at acquisition. We passed it in the House. That didn't go to the Senate. There's just over and over and over these things that have been gotten through and have been addressed and looked at and passed, and they don't make it. So I think just bringing a conservative voice over there to support good, solid, conservative legislation that is supported by 80% or more of the people, I think is important. And I think that as far as some of the different things that I can bring, boy, it's a long list. And I guess when you look at some of the different issues that are out there, what about, continuing to work to work actively to reevaluate how we select our judges? I think Senate confirmation is something we really need to sit down and have a real meaningful conversation. And I would be glad to bring that legislation to say that, listen, we've got to reevaluate how we do this and see what happens. But it's going to, there's a long road ahead of that before I can get to there. And Ogden and all of his help are working diligently and spending must be a scandalous amount of money.
It's got to be huge.
It's got to be huge. I'm going to be amazed. I think it's going to be amazing to see the amount of money they're going to spend on this race. But from the sheer number of mailers and texts and stuff like that, I got a text from American Freedom something. I got to do some digging into it. I started last night, but I think that's another arm of the Dems, the Democratic Party. The Democrats are all in for Ogden. I mean, they don't want me over there. And I guess, you're known more by your enemies than you are by your allies, So I got every liberal left-leaning organization in the state, evidently, and outside of the state coming after me. So when the flack's the heaviest, I guess you're over the target. So I must be doing something right.
Well, you're certainly popular with them.
Right there with you, buddy. Right there with you.
I bet you are, Ken.
All right, Chip. Well, if my viewers want to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
307-290-0366. And by the way, that number's been put out by all these left-leaning organizations, and they did get that right. They've got my cell number. By all means, call or text me or whatever. House phone's 307-467-5736. And yes, this ranch, Joni and I still have a landline. And so we that way, or you can go Neiman, the number 4, Wyoming.com. That's our website, or you can follow me on Facebook or whatever. I guess I don't post the stuff. I don't know how, but I just make that stuff. Having the guy that takes care of that for me put that on there, but I'm not real savvy on it. But anyway, I'm going to try to refute or at least push back on this nonsense, because boy, there's a ton of it.
There's a bunch of it. Well, Chip, I'll be waiting for your next video. I really like them. Thanks for taking some time this morning, and keep me updated on how things are going.
It's an honor, gentlemen. Appreciate the opportunity, and you guys keep up the good work. And thank you, David and Ken. I do want to say this. Thanks for being available and putting this out there for people to get this information. I think all these different candidates, I've watched you do interviews with a lot of them, and you ask good questions and straightforward, hard questions that not everybody thinks. If you're trying to coddle the conservatives, I've seen you ask some questions that folks are really make them think and really help us to better understand who's running and what they stand for. And I appreciate that from you and Ken and the folks that support you, because information is critical, and straight information is more than critical. And we are in a society right now with AI and all of this crap. I think people just want authenticity.
I think so.
They really, and you guys bring that, and I appreciate that, and I look forward to more interviews and all that you guys are going to do to bring transparency to this process, because we desperately need it.
I appreciate it, Chip. Thank you very much. Have a good day, and we'll talk soon.
I'm going to rake some hay. You kids have fun. Talk to you later.
Well, that'll do it for today's installment of the broadcast. Have a great week, and we'll talk again on Wednesday. But for now, from the base of the Bighorns at the Cowboy State Politics Studio, I'm David Iverson, and this is the one and only Cowboy State Politics.